Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and I was thinking about themed videos and I came up with one that I was kind of curious about myself, and that was what were the top 5 tools I used in 2020. And 2020 was obviously a strange year, so I ended up kind of going through my tool chest, looking at different tools, trying to figure out what did I spend the most time with. And it turns out, as I'm going through the drawers and looking through my shelves at all the different tools, I thought of, what jobs did I do? And I did all kinds of different jobs, from remodel jobs to deep cleaning jobs to car repairs, car modifications, RV work, outside construction, just tinkering, fixing, all kinds of things. And I ended up coming up with 5. Oddly, it's 1 Snap-on, 3 Milwaukees, and a Klein. And these were things that I went back to many times across a lot of jobs, or they were just the things that I would grab. I'd have them whenever I took off to go do something. And that's different than saying a ratchet or a hammer or something. These are very specific things that I felt like kind of reflected some of what went on last year. So let's see, we'll go ahead and start here. So the Snap-on Talon grip needle nose pliers with cutter. I had these in my pocket probably more than any other tool besides my pocket knife. I was constantly using them. We did a lot of drip irrigation stuff out in the garden. I was pulling staples. I used them for some pruning, believe it or not. I used them for endless repair tasks. Obviously vehicle work. Took them on trips with me. This was just kind of my go-to pocket plier. This size, I have smaller ones, and I have larger needle nose, but this was the thing. I would just grab it and I would do everything with it. Of Snap-on, that was actually the main plier across all the different tasks, something that I would always have with me. This one, I absolutely love this thing. It is a Milwaukee compact vacuum. It's the 12-volt M12 system. This particular thing, let's see, what did I do with it? Obviously, I did a ton of cleaning. It's great for cleaning cars and RVs. It's great for cleaning along narrow edges of things that are harder to get into with a larger vacuum. We ate outside in the backyard a lot. What is this thing good for out there? It's sucking up those bees that come and fly around your dinner or your lunch. And you know that they go back and they tell the rest of the yellow jackets or bees or wasps or whatever they are that there's food here, so all of a sudden you have one and then you have a dozen. This actually would sit out on the picnic table and there's a bee and you'd have this nice satisfying thunk. I would never do it to honeybees, we need those, but some of those yellow jackets or the black and white bald-faced hornets, just thump, just suck them right up and you can watch them fly around in here. Same with spiders, and we have some bad spiders sometimes, the hobo spiders, and I just suck them up. So that's what this thing was good for, as well as cleaning. I actually give these out as gifts sometimes because I just use this thing constantly. So anytime I took off somewhere outside my shop to do a job, I probably had this with me. Along with that, I had this light, and I have a whole bunch of different Milwaukee lights, both M12 and M18. This one's an M18 light. I'll do a review on some of my different lights. But this particular thing, sorry about that, was just a single handy durable light. It's actually cheap. I think they were blowing these out on Home Depot for like, gosh, $59 or something like that. It doesn't take the larger battery. You can see that it's a bit limited here in this space. So I've got a 2 or 3 amp on it. I think you can go up to 5 and that's about it. No larger, can't get a 9 in there, of course not a 12. But as far as the ability to sit in a lot of different positions, this spends a ton of time in bathtubs when I'm doing plumbing or shower work or tiling. It's just a good go-to one. Keep it under the car when I'm doing any work from underneath, even changing oil in the dark sometimes. You know, that's the only time I've got to do it. And so it's a good light up light. I did a lot of jobs for friends and family, mostly outdoors, and I would just grab this thing and go. It's got just a couple of speeds, basically high speed and low speed, and that's it. Kind of a funky design here for the all those buttons, and it's also one of those that points towards you, sometimes with the buttons on the back. If you're trying to figure it out in the dark, and then, you know, it's like, where's the button, where's the button, oh, there it is, wow, and you're blinded. So sometimes having a button somewhere else or off to the side is better. This handle can be good or not. I hang it on things, but I also find that there are a lot of times I'd like to be able to set it at just slightly a different angle. This is an octagon. I think it should have had more sides, because the difference between this and this, see that? That's a huge difference in angle. So it'd be nice if it was a little finer, because I mean, it can roll just fine. So even if you had a smaller section here, when it's sitting on it, it's sitting just fine. Anyway, so this thing, that particular light out of all of them, was one that I would grab, toss in the car or the truck. I'd always have it with me when I start a project if I thought I might need some extra lighting. This was just a small Klein multi-tester. This is the MM400. Does an awful lot of stuff. Plus I can use it with a thermocouple for measuring temperature. But I found I did a lot of just kind of DIY electronic stuff this past year, whether it was appliance work, whether it was just dealing with battery-powered, not toys, but objects of different kinds, testing those, trying to troubleshoot them. I don't know how many, I think I replaced 3 different car or vehicle batteries this last year. You just finally have time to deal with things, and you're tinkering around. It's not like you're driving, and then of course if you don't drive for a month or more and the battery's dead, you learn some about it. Looking for shorts, looking for continuity issues, and of course doing some videos, trying to play around with learning what's inside tools you can't see the inside of. Anyway, so I used this a lot. So I actually have, you know, I have a bunch of multi-testers, of course, but I would throw it in this this bag here, this padded bag, and then this thing would just go with me. So I just toss that into the toolbox, whatever it was. I use all kinds of different boxes and containers and backpacks and stuff. And this particular multimeter just went everywhere with me. And of course I helped a lot of other people with projects, and you know, most of the time they don't have multimeters, or if they do, it's some old little analog one that needs a battery that they didn't have. And so always grab that and always test it. I never really trusted when somebody said it used to work, so it should still work, but something else is wrong. So anyway, there was that. And then finally, this is a Milwaukee infrared temperature gun. And this particular Milwaukee temp gun right here, I've got a handful of these. It's a non-contact temperature gun, so it takes the temperature, 56 down in my shop, 57. But anyway, this particular thing, when you are curious, gosh, do I have COVID? Well, what's one of the first things? Do you have a fever? So this actually, believe it or not, lived in the dining room or living room of the house for most of the summer. And whenever someone had a question, you know, gosh, I don't know, or do I have a fever or something, we just grab this and we play with it. Obviously, it's not an end-all, but we ended up, the first few times I dug it out, I put it away, and then I kept having to dig it out, so finally it just lived, you know, in the kitchen or in the bathroom or somewhere. It was just floating around the house, and people were using it all the time just out of curiosity. So if you were curious, if you had a fever or something, you just zap yourself in the forehead. You can turn this to A couple of different settings. Sometimes I'd use that, you know, just for testing max or holding settings versus scanning settings. You can set an alarm on it, so if it'll beep if a temperature is too high. Anyway, there's a whole lot of things that this thing does. Milwaukee really dialed it in as far as figuring out how to pack a bunch of features into a fairly durable, rubber-covered, backlit infrared temperature sensor. So we don't use it quite as much anymore. It's made its way back into the shop, but for a big chunk of the spring and summer, we always had one of these, or a thermometer within reach, and it was mostly this one. Anyway, those are my top 5 tools when I thought about it, kind of unusual tools that I used across the most number of things in 2020. With that, Doc out.